Namaste, welcome to our guidance classes telecasted by TSAT. As you know it, we are completed the first sessions, that is totally all 13 areas of the prelim and mains syllabi. So, now we are going to discuss about the overall review, how we are going to prepare, what kind of strategies we are going to adopt, what kind of books you have to prepare, what is your action plan. All these we are going to discuss with our subject expert in economy, 𝗳𝗧𝗏𝗧 sir. So, please welcome to our.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, already we discussed the telecasted all the
around 15
sessions,
minutes.
okay, to cover the total economy. So, now here how our aspirants are going to prepare, what kind of strategies they are going to adopt for the prelims as well as mains.
So, the thing is that as we know, prelims is objective type.
Okay.
So, frankly speaking, student doesn't need to by heart a lot of content.
Yeah.
The reason is you would be given 4 different options.
Okay.
So, student should be able to have the ability to recollect what is studied. It is not like you are not reproducing it. If you are writing a descriptive question, you need to remember a lot of facts and you need to analyze, and that is where you need to have ability to remember and simply recollect whatever. But here in this case, when it comes to preliminary examination, is an objective.
Okay.
And the advantage here in this case is you don't have any negative marking.
Yeah, that's very important.
That's the advantage. So, it does mean there is a chance for making a guess, and moreover, you are not expected to write something, you are just expected to find the best answer among given the 4 options.
Yeah.
So, if you are able to figure out what exactly seems to be the best answer, you would be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, that is the reason student not really need to worry about mugging up lot many books, rather students should be able to master the art of recollecting information.
Yeah.
So, the best thing to do as of now, because we only have very less days for the examination, as I would suggest, the best thing to do is simply keep practicing.
Yeah.
The more is the number of questions you happen to practice.
Okay.
So, generally students have a perception that most of the questions are not par with, I am simply taking a test series, and this particular test series is not on par with the standard of UPSC, 𝗵𝗵PSC and TSPSC. So, it is not the question of what their standard is.
Okay.
Let us say when simply the team is simply when the cricket team goes for net practice, it is not necessary the Pakistan people happen to, or the Pakistan bowler happens to be coming to our net practice for our batsman.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is only our team members who would be the one who would be batting,
Yeah.
okay, bowling, and simply that is how the net practice is. So, to face that particular questions, you need to have that kind of practice, and the best thing to do is just practice as many questions as you can.
Okay.
So, that helps in recollecting the information that you happen to collect all these years or these months, and that would help in eliminating lot many mistakes generally people commit.
Okay. They have to participate in mock tests.
Participate in mock tests. So,
Yeah.
keep doing as much as you could possible.
Okay.
Forget about whether questions are par with UPSC or TSPSC standards, that is not the case to worry. Do practice as many as you could.
Okay.
So, it does mean every time you are simply attempting a question, you are able to simply say, let us say out of 4 different options, you are able to eliminate 3 and you happen to choose 1.
Okay.
It does mean you know why the 4th one is correct and why the all 3 options happens to be wrong.
Yeah.
So, you are trying to simply cover up the entire topic, just simply figuring out why particular answer is right and why the other 3 options are wrong.
Okay.
So, that itself acts as a better vision.
Some experts are saying, okay, prepare your own question paper. After practicing, prepare your own question paper.
Yeah, the thing is that it would be, it is suggestible, that all depends upon whether the students have enough time.
Yeah.
So, making your own question paper. So, if you are making your own question paper, does mean you know which particular topic you are selecting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it is not necessary people would be able to figure it out what is that particular topic that bothers them.
Yeah.
Isn't it? If you are there, their own question paper, that means they are evaluating their own performance.
Okay.
Many times it might not be able to, I do not mean to say it is absolutely wrong, but the thing is that it might not be the best strategy, and as such we right now the market has too many books.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Okay, there are thousands of questions to be practiced.
Yeah, in the market,
Yes.
so much resources
Yeah,
available.
as of now the thing is that when we are preparing, there was a dearth of information. So, there is no so much content in internet.
Okay.
I mean these so called websites and all these things were new or simply content related to UPSC or any 𝗵𝗵PSC or TSPSC. The websites and simply these so called online services provided as of now happens to be coming in the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So, as of that was the day there is a dearth of information. Now, it is too much of information.
Okay. So, according to which is the best strategy? So, you are going to suggest for our
So, what I would
aspirants?
suggest is that, see, as of now, maybe let us say around 1 to 1.5 months is for the examination.
Yeah.
So, rather than worrying about how many books I have studied and how many classes I attended, what I would simply suggest is that simply choose 2-3 subjects per day.
Okay.
Keep revising whatever has been studied all these months,
Yeah.
and try to make an attempt of some 30 to 40 questions minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, on a daily basis. Minimum of some 50 questions is what I would suggest.
Okay.
The more you repeat it, it's not necessary that people might be thinking, when I am taking a test, when I am simply attempting these questions, I am spending my time in simply giving a test.
Okay.
But you are revising, and revision is part of your preparation,
Okay.
and that's the most important part of your preparation.
Yeah.
So, you should also account that particular time you are spending on simply revision as part of your preparation. So, what I would suggest in the last minute is always to simply revise, and the best way of revising is simply keep attending some questions.
As per the timetable and all the things, so just you have approximately just 45 days, 1.5 month.
Yes.
So, most of the aspirants who are sincerely preparing for the examination, so definitely they have to complete once the total syllabi.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
So, now they have to start the revision. Maybe they have already started revision, that's well and good.
Yes.
Otherwise, they have to start the revision. So, they have to recall and remember all these things.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So, yeah. So, what kind of books you are going to prefer to prepare for this examination?
As in the last minute, there is no point in simply searching for a new book.
Okay.
As we already know that, like many times in school days, we also been studied, rather than reading n books, read one book at a number of times.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very common thing that we all know. So, rather than reading too many books with respect to the same information, the reason is simple. Take the case of Indian economy.
Okay.
Indian economy is simply, okay, so what happened with respect to the various sectors in the economy for the past so many years, 75 years, isn't it? That's what we would be. No matter whether it's authored by Mr. Suresh or Mr. 𝗬𝗪𝗺, the fact remains the fact.
Yes.
So, it doesn't mean that if you be in the author, you would be simply reporting there is a 30% growth in agriculture sector, and I would be reporting, I would report 30%. You and me report the same fact.
Yes.
And at the same time, there is always a report submitted by the government to cross verify the economic survey.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have the budget numbers.
Yeah.
So, no matter whoever happens to be the author of it, the information is the same. But the only thing is presentation matters, sir.
Yes.
So, your presentation with respect to a particular topic would be different from my presentation.
Absolutely.
And that's where students would be comfortable.
Yeah.
As some people like your way of presentation, some people like my. So, what I would suggest is that by this point of time, okay, every student might have collected certain information, certain textbooks and certain materials from the market.
Okay.
So, that does mean that you are comfortable with those particular material, and just ignore what other people are reading. This is a very common problem many students have.
Yeah, yeah.
In the last minute, people worry that some guy is reading some other book. Maybe there might be something more or something new that I might not have covered. So, this is how people end up reading the same kind of information in search of a new particular information in some other textbook.
Yeah,
So, at the end of the day, you end up reading Indian history textbooks from 10 different authors. There will hardly be any extra information you will be gaining from one book to other book, because history remains the same.
Because as you said,
Yes.
the fact is fact.
Fact is
so,
fact.
the only presentation may be
So,
different.
that's the only thing. Whatever the book you are comfortable, you might have already that with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what I would say is just revise it. And the good thing is that since the syllabus is also mentioned, with the notification is already been mentioned, there are around 13 topics that's been mentioned.
Okay.
And out of these 150 questions, it's been clearly balanced. It's not that this year you will be having too many questions from economy, because there is going to be a global recession.
Obviously, according to the blueprint,
yes.
maybe one or two questions may vary, but in
maybe.
general.
Okay, so there's going to be equal weightage for all the subjects.
Yeah.
So, that does mean that students are already clear with how much time I could afford to allocate.
Yeah.
So, 45 days, let's say roughly make it 15 days, that's been 3 days per subject.
Yeah. They
On
have
an
to,
average.
They have to allocate
average.
as per proportion.
As per proportion, because see, even though you end up reading some 30 books on history and spend some 3 years on history, at the end of the day you only get 10-12 questions.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And out of these questions, you only have some questions from ancient history, and some questions from medieval history, and some questions from modern history.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, there is no point in spending too much of time. At the end of the day, you should be able to make optimal utilization of your time.
Yeah.
So, just simply spend the same 3-4 days for one particular subject,
Yeah.
and be rational in simply choosing how much time you are spending it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you are going to get only 10 questions out of it.
As like
So that's
your
all.
experts are saying, so just you have to believe one book. That's a good
One
thing.
book, okay, just okay, you don't need to search for any new material, new notes, because some people, so people might be saying that this note seems to be better. this particular textbook seems to be better. That is better for him. Like some movies, like some people like some movies, some people like some other kind of movies.
Yeah.
But here in this case, there's okay, movie might change, story changes, everything changes. But when it comes to these subject matters, physics, laws of gravity, isn't it, and economy, okay, what is the fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, the definition doesn't change, the numbers doesn't change.
Yes.
Then why keep on worrying that I have missed this particular book because this author seems to be the most sold author? That doesn't make any sense.
As per the education cycles, everyone knows
This
it.
is
Because when they are going to coaching centers, they
Yeah.
will, their friends will bring so many books. So they will tempt and they, okay, so I prepared only 2 books, that guy is prepared more
Prepared
6
lot
books.
many books.
So I am maybe backward when I compare with
Yes,
this guy.
sir.
Like that kind
Yeah.
of thinking is not correct. Correct?
That's not correct. The reason is that you are not doing any PhD.
Yeah.
You are not doing any research.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, everyone is trying to attempt the same question paper.
Yeah.
So the thing is that you should be, and this particular competitive examination, type of competitive examination is relative performance. Whoever happen to perform the best would be the one who would be given the option to take the mains examination.
Okay.
So that's a very basic reason. You don't need to master the subject.
Yeah.
So you just simply, okay, so if you say that I am not aware of what type of questions are, just look at the previous papers.
Okay.
And if you say there are not enough questions on prelims with respect to TSPSC, then look at other exams conducted by the same board, TSPSC.
Yes.
So try to figure out what is that information they are expecting from an aspirant.
Okay. Is there
So
any
that helps you.
Is there any separate strategy for the preparation of prelims and mains?
I would say the reason is simple. Prelims is, as we started the discussion, prelims is an objective.
Objective.
So you don't need to reproduce whatever it has been. You only need to recollect and simply choose one the best. So you've been given an option. Okay.
Yes.
So there is an helping hand in the name of question paper itself.
Yeah.
When it comes to mains, it's most of analytical.
Yeah.
So that's the reason when it comes to writing an analytical answer, then you need to remember some facts to substantiate your opinion.
Okay.
Let's say if you've been asked to write something about the irrigation, okay, potential in Telangana, so unutilized potential in Telangana. So then you need to obviously have an information. What's the total land under under cultivation in Telangana? What's the irrigation potential in Telangana? So what is the more proportion of land that's bought under irrigation in the past 6-7 years? So these are the facts that would always helps in improving your answer writing.
Okay. They have to prepare for the economical survey.
Yes, the thing is that every common man, whoever goes through some newspaper, would be able to figure it out. For the past 10 years, there is an increase in irrigation in Telangana especially.
Okay.
But that's not the way, but because that's how a layman would be simply saying. Who reads newspaper get to know that. But when you are writing an answer for a specific question, then you need to garnish or you need to make your presentation more interesting by simply quoting some facts.
Okay.
And at the same time, you don't need to keep running here and there to collect those facts. When it comes to Indian economy, you have the economic survey.
Yeah, that's
And they have comprehended very neatly based upon the topic wise, subject wise, and topic wise. Let's say for balance of payments, you have a separate chapter, but so when it comes to fiscal policy, when it comes to inflation, you have every chapter separate, and they also happen to present a pictorial presentation, tabular presentation. So, and you don't need to by heart the entire book. Do collect whatever the information that TSPSC or Group 1 exam might require. Same thing holds good when it comes to socio-economic survey of Telangana.
Yeah, that's very important.
That's it. So if you need the facts, you have the source, that too officially provided by the government itself. Then and at the end of the day, many times I have noticed that people keep on gathering so many books, and they end up simply finding that the source of all this information happens to be the same socio-economic survey of Telangana or maybe the same economic survey. They end up simply saying, the source of every water happens to be the rainfall itself.
Yeah.
So that's how there's no point, you discovering the fact which is already known.
Yes.
That's it. So when it comes to mains examination, soon after prelims, the best thing students has to do is keep writing answers.
Okay.
So that way, like when it comes to prelims, keep simply attempting prelims, but when it comes to mains, keep writing it. So until unless you are able to express yourself in a logical and coherent manner, your answer doesn't seems to be a good look. I mean to say the presentation is of more important.
Yeah.
You are trying to substantiate something, then you need to have a logical flow of what you want to say.
Yeah. Generally, when the aspirants are prepared for the prelims, they will make the notes as a synopsis wise.
As
correct?
a synopsis.
As a synopsis. So, after the completion of their prelims, what kind of approach they are going to prepare?
That's what
for
I'm saying. Okay, since we have very less time, I don't expect students to change the preparation now, but the ideal preparation I would always suggest. Take the case of UPSC or APPSC or TSPSC. We all know the fact prelims is simply a round of elimination.
Yes.
So most of the time, your marks might not be doesn't weigh when it comes to the final selections. Mostly these kind of examinations. So you are not expected to be the topper. 150 out of 150 is not going to be your goal. So yours should be, okay, your strategy to be so that I would be cracking prelims and I would simply appear for mains. That should be there.
Yeah.
So most of students have this perception, let me clear prelims, okay, I will look at the mains later, but that's the case. Okay. These exams like UPSC, TSPSC, especially Group 1 where you have descriptive, the exam simply the selection round is of mains.
Okay.
So prepare for mains.
Yeah.
So when you are preparing for mains, you are also able to collect large amount of data with respect to that particular topic. Maybe take the case of agriculture in Telangana, take the case of the current increasing retail inflation in India, overall in India,
okay,
and rest of the world. We all know the reason why it is happening, especially food inflation. Okay. Why is the government planning to impose ban on export of wheat flour? Okay. So why is the government doing these things? We know the reasons and we know the statistics. So if you are able to figure out the actual reasons and simply make a note, the prelims question would be obviously based upon this particular information.
Yeah.
So the best strategy is always to prepare mains examination.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually
your notes writing, your analytical ability, okay, the way you happen to look at a particular textbook or read any particular notes of any particular teacher always should be with a perspective of I am going to take up mains examination. Mains is the only criteria that helps me to crack this examination.
Absolutely.
So once you happen to go through mains and have such a great analytical skill, prelims is always a cakewalk.
Yes. So every aspirant they have to start their preparation
with the intention
with
that
mains.
I would 100% take the mains examination.
Yeah.
That's it, because mains is the only thing that puts me into the list. Okay. Prelims is only a gateway or simply a round of elimination. So that's the very basic reason, and that too the skill required for mains examination is the really important, and the short span of time between prelims and mains is not going to really suffice for simply prepare for mains. So people always have this, I mean the only reason why many talented kids end up not cracking this examination is this strategy, not just because they are not able to do it.
Yeah, so I will prepare for the prelims, then I will start the mains. It's not the correct approach.
That's not the correct approach.
They have to start with the mains. So I am writing mains now. They have the mindset should be in the same manner.
In the same manner.
Okay, once they learn and prepare in a comprehensive manner, definitely they can get through.
Prelims is always able to, because the same is the topics and you would be reading more extensively when it comes to mains.
Okay.
Out of that particular information you have studied extensively, done a research to a great extent, there would be a question based upon it, maybe a factual question, maybe some conceptual question, and it's very easy to, you're not able, expected to write something, you're just expected to reproduce what you have studied, that's it.
Yes.
Okay. So that's it, prelims would always be. But the very common mistake is that once the notification is out and to the time of prelims, people only concentrate on prelims. That has been they are spending too much of time for prelims.
Yes.
And with the same perception of that, simply prepare for objective questions. But if you could allocate the same time for mains, that preparation itself is going to be enough for your preliminary examination. Hardly what I would suggest is that if people have the same kind of strategy, preparing for mains, these 40-45 days, the best thing is simply keep attempting more and more questions. Do take any test series, whatever seems to be available at your disposal. Not necessary that you need to simply take the highest paid test series in the market, not necessary.
Just now you are saying, so is it worthy to take different kinds of test series, because different institutions, organizations, they are conducting test series, you feel is it worthy for to
it's the thing is that the very common logic is that people ignore when something happens to be served at free of cost. They really don't value it. But if the same people or the same kids with small amount of money, their parents should be supporting 5,000-10,000 rupees per month, out of which if they end up spending some 1,000 rupees for a test series, it's a very common nature, students feel more responsible, and the attendance would be more. But at the end of the day, the test series I am conducting, the test series you conduct, because you happen to be, you have your own institute, let's say I have my own institute, maybe I might be simply posing the same questions and the same questions might be repeated even in your paper. So it's not necessary that just because there are 10 institutions in this particular city of Hyderabad, you need to go for all 10 institutions. But the thing is that pick up one test series. And do end up simply practicing more. That's the only thing.
This test series will give some knowledge about the what time management and all these things.
There is abundant number of questions available on internet. If you think that you will be able to do it on a regular basis, because consistency is what matters. So you yourself have to search for some questions in the internet and simply start attempting it. If you have that self motivation, then well and good. But if you think you need some force to push you to the test series, then you need to go for paying some amount of money, because at least for that reason you want to be simply saying, I have paid certain amount of money, let me at least do the justice, okay, at least just look at what happens to be the question. That's the very basic reason.
Okay.
It might increase your promptness in attending the questions, but at the end of the day you have abundant information, not necessary that you need to pay and simply subscribe to a test series whichever happens to be the most costly one.
Okay. So, actually as an well experienced subject expert, you know, so of course the aspirants knows it, but once again we will
Yes.
give the information to them. What is the weightage of economy for this examination?
That's it. We already discussed in one of the previous questions I was saying. Okay, it's been clearly mentioned in the notification that there are around 13 topics have been mentioned.
Yes.
And if you look at the past strategy or the way they happen to, there's an equal amount of weightage for all the topics mentioned.
Okay.
So that comes to around some 12 to 13 questions, maybe
Yeah.
plus or minus one or two.
Yeah.
Out of the 13-14 questions, again, because the thing is that it's not practically possible to segregate a particular question as an economy question or a geography question, because
Yes,
I
yes.
think we are aware of the fact economic geography and economy coincides.
Yeah. So, before
Right,
going
right.
to discuss about all these things, we have a phone call, we have to respond first, then
Sure.
we will continue this one.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Namaste sir. So, just say your name and we are calling from which area. Please mention these two.
Sir, this is 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 from Mehboobabaad, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I would like to know the information regarding now what are the specific topic areas to cover from the economy, Indian economy, sir, and Telangana economy with the gist and economics, sir. Can you relate the topics, and can we study the agriculture portion from this Indian economy?
Yeah. So what I would suggest, Sai Krishna, is that okay, the topics that are required, the syllabus is very clear, isn't it? Whether it's a Telangana economy or simply Indian economy, the syllabus is very clear. What I would suggest is that let's say you're preparing for national income, you would be coming across a term called GDP. So that simply is a measure of income of the nation. But at the same time, why don't you simply figure out what is the GSDP of Telangana? Because the output of India is measured in or expressed in terms of GDP. The output within Telangana is measured as the form of GSDP. So take the case of agriculture. So if you look at the temperature, the climatic condition prevailing within Telangana is not completely different from the rest of India. So we do cultivate similar types of crops. So we also happen to cultivate paddy on a very extensive scale, and rest of India also cultivates paddy. So if you look at the total paddy cultivation in the entire India, what proportion of paddy is cultivated in Telangana? So the same is the case with any cash crops. So what proportion of cash crops that in Telangana? What proportion of land out of the total irrigated area in India is in Telangana? Okay, what proportion of dry land area is in Telangana? So no matter whatever you study in the context of Indian economy, simply figure it out what exactly is the same thing in Telangana. That really simplifies your preparation. The very common problem is that you people prepare Indian economy separately and Telangana economy separately, because as you know, economy is all about practice.
Okay.
So whatever the three sectors contribute to the Indian economy are the same three sectors, isn't it? What does contribute to GST of Telangana? Agricultural sector, the same industrial sector, the service sector. Only thing is that the proportion changes.
Okay.
So when you are preparing for Indian economy, do make the corresponding note or do figure out the corresponding fact, search for the corresponding fact, and just make a note at the same place wherever you happen to report it. Agriculture, Indian agriculture. So what are the cash crops, or which crops are being provided MSP? And out of these particular crops which are being provided the support of MSP, what percentage of crops or what are the crops that are cultivated in Telangana? Okay, what proportion of farmers are benefiting out of this? That's it. Let's say you are studying irrigation. If you look at the irrigation is an artificial supply of water. Not necessarily every part of India you have the same irrigation facilities. North India you have different irrigation. Telangana we have tank based irrigation, very popular. So what proportion of land of Telangana is irrigated using this tank based irrigation?
Yeah.
So
very good, sir.
so just simply go ahead with the mission 𝗂𝗽𝗃, and then so if you could substantiate why is the government is after this so-called reclamation of tanks, pond irrigation.
Yes.
So that helps you to better.
We have one more call, sir. We have to respond
Yes.
for it. So hello.
Hello.
Namaste, sir. Just say your name and where you from calling, and what is your question from we are expecting.
Sir, good morning, sir. I am Nageshwar from Medak district.
Okay, good morning, sir.
తెలంగాణ హిస్టరీ అండ్ మూమెంట్ మెన్షన్ చేయలేరు కదా సార్ సిలబస్ లో, అయితే చదవాలా వద్దా?
So, history and movement as such, okay, the questions, if you look at it, I mean, the thing is that we don't have this particular paper, or at least one paper as a sample paper, but the thing is that since it is not clearly mentioned prelims, as of now it's not necessary, because this you hardly have 45 days. So, if you have not gone through it, you don't worry, but that's going to be anyway for your mains examination, that is a topic to be read. So, if you ask me, will there be any question for prelims, since out of those 13 topics mentioned, it is not clearly specified, then you don't need to worry as of now. But definitely, since that's a topic as part of your syllabus, you always need to. But as of now, you don't really worry about preliminary examination, okay, with respect to those particular topics.
Yeah. Actually, this because the first time Telangana government is conducting examination, definitely Telangana movement and the history may ask even current affairs also.
Maybe, yeah, okay. So, that I don't really say there would never be a question, but the thing is that in the last minute, okay, when you have been clearly mentioned the question that would be asked, or simply the topics that are required for preliminary examination, don't try to extend your legs into other areas which might not be of so importance, because this is a time to revise.
Yeah, we have one more phone call, sir. We have to respond for it.
Please.
So, hello. Namaste, sir. Just say your name and where you are calling and what is your question.
Sorry, sir.
Sir,
Hello?
Sir, your voice is audible. Sir, say your name, please.
Hello.
Sir, your voice is audible, so we are hearing. Please say your name and what is your question. What you are expecting from our subject expert?
My name is Raju.
Okay, Raju
Hello?
sir. Yeah, Raju sir. Please ask the
Sir,
question.
ఇప్పుడు ఈ గ్రూప్ 1 అప్లై చేసిన సార్.
Sir.
సార్ ఇప్పుడు అంటే కోచింగ్ ఏం తీసుకుంటలేదు, నేను సొంత ప్రిపేర్ అవుతున్నా.
Okay.
సార్ కొద్దిగా ఈ బుక్స్ ఏం చదవాలి సార్, కొద్దిగా గైడ్ చేస్తారా సార్?
Definitely. So, Shiva sir, what kind of books he is going to prepare?
The thing is that, okay, it's not practically possible to list out the authors and all those things. Yeah, Raju. Yeah. So, what I would suggest is that you don't need, first thing is that you don't, it's not necessary that you need to have coaching for it. What I would suggest is that whatever the books, I think, okay, I mean, you don't have any books as of now with you?
మీరు ఇంతవరకు ఏ బుక్స్ సేకరించి చదివారా సార్? ఓకే, కట్టండి. Yeah, so that phone was called. So, as you just were discussing that, so according to the preliminary syllabus, so there are 13 areas, so 150 questions. So proportionately, as you said, at
maybe
13 or 14 questions will come. So what kind of questions they will ask, your expectation from the economy?
Yeah. So when it comes to economy, okay, so generally, since this is the first time we are having the group 1 examination in the recent past, okay, so we cannot say this is the strategy in the previous case, because take the case, if you look at any previous papers like TSPSC or simply like the case of 𝗵𝗵𝗆, there were times where planning used to be a topic of very high importance.
Okay.
Because the reason is the role the planning commission used to play those days.
Okay.
So there used to be questions like what's the importance of this particular plan, in which particular plan this scheme was being introduced, what was the particular area that has been emphasized in a particular plan. That was the time.
Yeah.
The reason is the overall Indian economy, if you look at the direction in which the economy is moving, we happen to have this everything in the form of a planning.
Okay.
And now look at post 2014 planning commission has been replaced by Niti Aayog.
Okay.
So the thing is that it is not necessary that the same, I don't mean to say there could never be a question, but at the end of the day you should always be keeping this mind. So just because some 10-15 years back planning commission used to be, or planning used to be the most commonly asked topic, it is not necessary the examiner would still hang on with planning commission.
Yeah.
Okay, so the perspective might change. So most of the, when it comes to economy is all about what is happening in and around you and me.
Yeah.
So those are the topics that would be considering more.
Okay.
And at the same time the very basics like what's the national income, what is the GDP, these are the things definitely they would be testing you.
Okay.
But if they happen to go to an extent of Telangana, they might be asking where the questions go with economic geography.
Okay.
Like I was simply saying the irrigation potential, or simply increasing the size of, the number of tanks that are being reclaimed, or maybe that could be the kind of budgetary allocation with respect to this kind of or initiatives like this so-called T-Hub. Okay, so these are the kind of questions they might be asking, or the schemes that Telangana government happen to bring in to promote various activities, or let's say recently we happen to have this instance for this Chineta workers.
Yeah,
handlooms.
Handlooms.
So that's how, what is the initiative, what's the name of the scheme, these might be the questions, factual questions sometimes might be asked.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you need to be very thorough with whatever is the initiatives in the recent past, rather than simply start looking at and by hearting all schemes from 47.
Yeah.
So I would suggest start from 2022 and go back, rather than simply starting from 47 and come into 2022.
Yeah.
That
So
would
the schemes and policies.
the schemes, policies, what's the priority, what are the areas that really bothers, okay, I mean what are the challenges that Indian economy, Telangana economy both happens to face.
Okay.
So at last there will be a common problem both Telangana and Indian economy would be facing.
Okay.
And when it comes to Telangana especially, we would be having a different kind of problems. So if you look at for the past 2 years, we have very large amount of paddy production, okay, paddy cultivation, and procurement has become a very big concern.
Yeah.
So that would be the case. So they would not be asking what exactly is the problem, but maybe a question related to it.
Okay.
Let's say take the case, what is an MSP or who decides MSP?
Okay.
Isn't it? So is it a central state government, or simply how is MSP determined, or which crops would come under, would are covered under MSP?
Okay.
If it is a perishable crop like fruits and flowers, who are, okay, is there any MSP for it? So that is the kind of question related to whatever is the problem that we are experiencing. The questions related to it could be asked.
Okay.
So that's basically you could simply try to focus or concentrate your preparation based upon the challenges we are facing.
Yeah.
So I would seriously suggest, rather than simply going through previous paper 10, okay, so the previous papers and simply trying to make your preparation as per that, just try to focus on the current issues.
Yeah. Actually, after formation of the Telangana,
yeah,
if you know the
we all have a
positions,
different challenges,
different policies.
When it comes to Telangana,
different schemes are introduced.
Yes,
you better to concentrate on these policy schemes, and that's
the reason is that this so-called Mission Bhagirath,
yeah,
or Mission Kakatiya,
Mission
especially
Bhagirath,
Mission Kakatiya. So there was no scheme before this particular formation of Telangana. And the reason why Kakatiya or simply reclamation of tanks, because tank-based irrigation happens to be the prominent irrigation source in Telangana, because of this so-called hard rock bed we have. We do have less amount of water penetrating. So that's the reason that suits the region of Telangana. People started concentrating, government started concentrating.
Okay. Okay.
Isn't
so,
it?
Before going to discuss this, we'll continue it after receiving the phone call. Hello. Namaste sir, just say your name and what's your question.
హలో సార్ నా పేరు మహేష్ సార్, హైదరాబాద్ నుంచి మాట్లాడుతున్నాను.
సార్
సార్ ఏం లేదు సార్, ఇప్పుడు TSAT లో జరుగుతున్న క్లాసెస్ నేను డైలీ వింటున్నాను, తెలంగాణ ఎకనామీ కానీ వేరే డిఫరెంట్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ కానీ.
ఓకే.
అయితే సార్ నేను ఇప్పుడు తెలంగాణ ఎకనామీకి వేరే బుక్ ఏది రిఫర్ చేయట్లేదు, ఓన్లీ TSAT లో జరుగుతున్న క్లాసెస్ వింటున్నాను. అది సరిపోతుందా సార్ నాకు ఎగ్జామ్స్కి రాయడానికి?
So I'm sorry, I'm not able to recalculate, but my friend, what I would suggest, classes, the purpose of class or any coaching is simply to help you understand what to read and what not to read, because in a given short span of time, it's not practically possible to cover the entire syllabus.
Yeah.
So we are just trying to help you. Let's say take the case monetary policy. I simply explain a monetary policy in the span of 10 minutes. I could explain in 100 minutes. I could also teach the same thing in 1000 minutes. The very basic purpose of providing these so-called free classes is to help you understand what are the topics that are required for examination.
Yeah.
So given a direction, I would expect you to do some extra amount of information. So let's say I speak about repo rate. So you just simply go and find out what exactly is the repo rate. Of course, people would not ask the question like what is the repo rate now, but repo rate could also be called with certain other term. Something similar to repo rate, there could also be one more lending rate by RBI. So you just try to explore the extra information, but just don't get confined with only the information provided in classes.
Yeah.
This is to help you to focus the topics, what to read and what not to read. That's it.
So my sincere appeal to all of the aspirants who are following this. So actually this guidance classes is given to, because the remote area students who are in villages, so they are unable to get the coaching.
Yes.
For that reason we are giving this guidance class to you, and we are saying this is a guidance class.
Yeah, this is a guidance
it's not
class.
a coaching class, it's a guidance class which gives the guidance to how to prepare. So we will give some idea to you. According to with the idea, just you have to develop. Take the NCERT textbooks or state syllabus textbooks, prepare your notes with the help of our classes. Definitely that will help you to get more score in the exam. So we have one more call, we have to respond. So hello.
Hello.
Namaste sir, say your name and what's your doubt.
So my name is Vishwant, I am from Nizamabad.
Okay.
So I had a doubt that in prelim syllabus there is only 2 points, economy and social development.
Okay.
So taking into consideration that, should we focus on the main syllabus and prepare for the prelims? Like in the main syllabus there is banking system, money and banking, and national income. There are only 4-5 things.
Yeah.
But if we go by civil services syllabus that we study of agriculture or irrigation system, is that depth required for the prelims or not?
Okay, it's a very good question. Generally, this is a very common question people would be having it, but I think you noticed the prelim syllabus seems to be much broader because Indian economic and social development, or let's say the case of Telangana economic and social development. Tell me, my friend, what doesn't come under economy and social issue? Name one thing, isn't it? Of course, when it comes to mains, they happen to make it elaborated and made it clear. But don't you really think that a monetary policy or inflation or simply trade or balance of payments, no matter agriculture, they all happen to be part of Indian economic and social development. As such, my simple question is, just imagine what do you think would be the topic. Just give me list a particular topic and tell me whether it would not fall under economic and social issue. That's the reason. So the prelim syllabus is much broader. That's it. Okay. So prepare for mains strongly, you would be able to really make it for prelims. So you don't need to worry about what to be read. So concentrate on mains topics. Majority of the time it would help you to crack your prelims examination.
Okay. So we have one more phone call, sir. We have to respond for it. So hello.
Hello, sir.
Namaste,
Sir,
madam.
I'm Harika from Medak.
Okay.
Sir, we are requesting for mock test subject wise, sir, in TSAT channel.
Okay, so we will see and just we will talk with our management whether it is possible for the conduction of the mock test through our TSAT, and already we are conducting quizzes. So definitely that will help you to. We will talk with our management. If it is possible, definitely we will conduct those tests, madam. Yeah.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you, madam. So actually, when you take it to the economy perspective, there are two things when you in a narrow sense, that is facts and analysis.
Yes.
So we have which one you have to concentrate, whether facts or analysis.
Yeah, the thing is that you cannot analyze something without proper facts.
Okay, okay.
Because generally people have the perception. General study is something general. I could say something, and since it is true, everyone has to accept it. But that's not what is expected from an aspiring civil servant, maybe at the state level, central level, isn't it?
Okay.
So any analysis should always be substantiated, supported with facts. Okay, there is no point in analyzing something without having some proper information or proper statistics.
Okay.
So that's the very basic reason when you are trying to make a support or against any argument.
Okay.
There should always be some necessary facts.
Okay.
And it's not necessary when it comes to Indian economy or let's say Telangana economy, there is nothing called a lot of statistics or facts you need to remember.
Okay.
Because majority of the times the very common fact that you and me need to worry is what's the GDP, what's the growth rate, the contribution of agricultural sector to GDP, what are our exports, what are our imports, what is the forex reserves. And then you might be asking, then if you keep on listing, there could be some 20-30 facts to be remembered.
Yeah.
Of course, there are 20-30 facts to be remembered. Let's say take the case of repo rate, let's say take the case of the total forex reserves of this country. So maybe at least some 30 facts should be on top of your tips, okay. But is it really required to remember all these facts? The student, whoever is going through a newspaper regularly,
Yeah.
he doesn't need to.
Yes.
Because that way somewhere in your subconscious memory. We don't by heart our name. Because you repeating the same name a number of times, somewhere in subconscious memory, even though if you are deep sleep, if I ask you what's your name, you would be able to say it.
Yes.
The same thing was good. If you are regularly following through newspaper, whatever that particular facts you are able to collect from newspaper is more than enough to attempt your examination.
Okay.
Okay. So the only thing is that rather than depending upon the best source, that's the newspaper, we people rely upon the magazines or simply the notes provided by it.
Okay. Okay.
So that's in fact is a secondary source, and where do they prepare the notes? Where do they collect the information?
Okay.
Mostly from the same newspapers.
Okay.
So if you are regularly, and I would always say no matter whether it's UPSC, TSPSC or any other examination, if you are preparing for economy, the best source always happens to be the business space of any national dial. And when it comes to TSPSC, do select any paper that's of convenience and just look at the business space.
Okay.
So that helps in two ways. One is it provides enough content. The second thing is when you are reading some particular article related to some economy in the newspaper. So that particular article would be consisting of enough terms to explain what's going on within India. That also helps us in your revision. Okay. You don't need to regularly simply open some book of Indian economy and keep on studying fiscal policy, keep on studying budget. Because in the newspaper article they say the fiscal deficit of this year is expected to be 3.2%. Then you are able to recollect what is fiscal deficit. And why are they simply saying 3.2%? What are the 3.2% has been? It's percentage of the total GDP of this country.
Okay.
So when you are reading an economy article, it does mean you are revising.
Yeah.
So there is no point in spending extra time simply reading an economy book.
Yes. Yes.
That's the best thing. And you are also able to grab whatever the information required for your examination. So compared to other subjects, preparation for economy is the most easiest thing,
Yeah.
because that happens to be part of your day-to-day life.
Okay.
And people cannot afford to say that I am struggling hard to read the newspaper, because when you really want to serve the society, you should need to know what is happening in the society, and newspaper is the best information.
Okay.
Maybe in the initial days, maybe for 10-15 days you might be facing the topic, but if you could able to understand the terms and terminology what they are trying to explain, over a period of time you get addicted to the newspaper.
Yeah.
That's always required for an aspiring civil servant.
So not only for preparing for the examination,
Yes,
it's to know you have
know what's
general
happening.
awareness means
It's necessary.
necessary. So we have one more phone
Yeah,
call,
please.
so we had response. So hello,
Hello, good morning, sir.
very good morning, madam. Just say your name and what's your
Sir,
question?
my name is Suma. I am from Sangareddy.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question. Syllabus lo reasoning and mention చేశారు కదా. So aptitude కూడా చదవాలా?
Can you repeat the question, madam, because there is a little bit of sound disturbances coming on. So if you don't mind.
Okay, sir. Syllabus lo reasoning and mention చేశారు కదా. So aptitude కూడా చదవాలా?
Aptitude a very common aptitude. The thing is that SSC exam lo banking la ledante RBI grade ant extensive ga undadu. Okay, so the only simple thing is that the very basic topics like the number theory, LCM, GCF, at max these could be the, because aptitude is all about how you come across a simple problem, you will be able to crack it without having enough skills related to math and all these things.
Yeah.
So you don't simply try to extensively do boards and streams and then the ratios and proportions and then the trigonometry and all these things. Just try to go the basics. That's more than enough. And focus more on data interpretation, because that is what is required tomorrow you become a group 1 officer.
Yeah, actually we gave we telecasted 4 sessions on simple arithmetics.
Yes.
So that may be sufficient for you
Yeah,
for the
that helps
preparation
you to brush up your basics. That's more than enough.
Yeah, for preparation of your aptitude, that's more than enough for you, definitely, sir. So here the Telangana socio-economic survey is already published last year and this year also. So is it plays key role for this examination?
Definitely, sir, because the thing is that, so imagine if I am taking a class, maybe I might end up simply forgetting some fact, I might not be quoting the fact exactly.
Okay.
But ultimately the fact I quote is always from the official sources itself, isn't it? So the official source, socio-economic survey of Telangana is an official source.
Yes, yes.
And no one could simply say that's not right. Okay, especially the examiner cannot say it.
Okay.
So you could always feel confident if your source happens to be from the official source itself. So the thing is that the book seems to be voluminous or the report is voluminous. Okay, is it necessary to remember and mug up all the facts, pie charts and tables? Not necessary.
Okay.
Because it has, it's a survey. The government is not printing the socio-economic survey only for the aspirants of civil services.
Yep.
Or simply TSPSC.
Yes, yes.
It is for general. Okay, what is happening in the Telangana is what they are saying. But you should be able to figure it out. What is required for my examination? To what extent I need to remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is something you don't need to simply mug up a fact. What's the growth rate, or what's the GSDP, or what's the growth rate in second quarter of 2020 or 2021?
Yeah.
Overall, how is Telangana performing? So if overall growth rate of India is some 6 to 7%, how is my Telangana growing?
Okay.
If agriculture sector growth rate in India on an average is some 3 to 4%, how much is my particular state of Telangana is doing?
Yeah.
So that kind of relative information is what you need to get.
Yes.
And you always have simply the crux of that particular book available.
Yeah.
So that's more than enough.
So
Okay,
the comparison with the Indian economy.
Indian
and
economy makes
Telangana
preparation
economy.
easy.
Okay, Telangana
Frankly
economy.
speaking, you don't need to separately prepare and simply attend classes separately for a Telangana economy.
Yeah.
Because the difference between economics and economy is theory and practice.
Yes, yes.
What is practiced in India, or what is Indian economy, or what is going on within the territory of India is Indian economy, and Telangana is obviously in India. Telangana is part
It's
of
a
India.
part of it, yeah.
So you are trying to figure out within this particular India, within the region called Telangana, what is happening.
Just a comparison.
Yes, that's what it is. So the same sectors contribute there, the same so-called problems that the nation India is experiencing, similar kind of problems. When it comes to ease of doing business, okay, whatever the nation India faces, whatever Telangana faces, to a large extent seems to swim. So if there is a coal shortage, it's not only for Telangana, it's for the entire India. If there is a retail inflation, it's not only for Telangana, it's for, if the crude oil prices increase, not only for Telangana, it's for all people.
As you said,
That's
Telangana is a part of India.
So if you are trying to simply figure out, okay, relatively, if this happened in India, how much is my state doing? That makes your preparation very easy.
Yeah. So as per our conversation, so no need a separate preparation for Telangana economy.
And the thing is, the extra effort you need to put for Telangana economy is, there might be a subscription. Let's say Pradhan Mantri 𝗬𝗧𝗧 𝗚, a housing provided by that.
Okay.
But in Telangana, we have a separate housing scheme. Let's say that when it comes to the double bedroom houses provided in Telangana, there could be a change in the name, there could be allocation, budget allocations in Telangana. So there could always be, take the case of social welfare, okay, both the center happens to act upon it, the states also do provide a large support when it comes to social welfare, socio-economic upliftment of the society.
Okay.
So there could be an extra effort by the state of Telangana.
Okay.
Take the case of 𝗓𝗏 𝗏.
Yeah.
So it's not a national scheme, that's a scheme pertaining to the state of Telangana itself. So it's not pan-India scheme.
Yes, yes.
So here in this, and when it comes to the center, we have Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman, almost similar to it. They do provide some financial assistance to the farmers. Here in this case, the same is the case with 𝗓𝗏 𝗏, but the amount of money, is it the beneficiaries? So they happen to differ. So that's it. Because, okay, both, I mean, the center is providing support to the farmers, the state is also providing support to the farmers, and these people might be providing the same support extensively.
Yeah, with the different names.
With the different names,
name
and
different.
The support could also be, and the support could be more. Okay, when it comes to 𝗓𝗏 𝗏, the money that's been disbursed to farmers is more than what disbursed by the central government in the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman. So that's how. Take the example of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, insurance scheme. Okay. So what type of crops and who would be the beneficiary? These are the things that we need to.
We have one more phone call, sir. We will respond. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, madam. Please say your name and what's your question expecting from our
Kumar,
expert.
sir. My name is Kumar.
Okay.
అయితే సిలబస్ జనరల్ సైన్స్ అని మెన్షన్ చేశారు కదా, అంటే బయాలజీ, ఫిజిక్స్, కెమిస్ట్రీ సెపరేట్ గా అన్ని చదవాలా, లేకపోతే సైన్స్ అండ్ టెక్నాలజీ డెవలప్మెంట్ ఇన్ ఇండియా అయితే సరిపోతుందా?
As per the syllabi, we have to read the basics of physics, of course, physical science and biological science also. The basic concepts of science is very important. So not only science and technology, so science and technology is a part of it, but you have to read the basic concepts of physics, chemistry, biology. These three are also very important. That's the reason recently we telecasted the basic concepts of physics also and other information. Just to see our TSAT programs, definitely that will help you, and prepare, take that state syllabus textbook and read the basic concepts of science. Definitely that will help you to crack this prelims exam, madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So actually, so the main thing is we have to prepare for all these things. So very short span. So now we are inching into revision now. So what kind of strategy now we are adapted for the revision?
So the strategy as such, okay, we've been discussing more or less about the same thing. What I would simply say is that, okay, we just distribute your time.
Yeah.
And find out, okay, by this time every student might have realized the fact that I'm not doing good at, because you might be doing some test series, and not every student might be comfortable with all these subjects.
Okay,
let's say if you ask me any question related to geography, economy, I would be easily able to make it, but you ask me a question history and polity, I would be struggling very hard. The reason is I know the problem that I am really weak in it. By this time every student might have figured it out.
Yes.
So since you figured it out, okay, then you are confident in certain topics and you're not so confident on it. That's where the last minute preparation, you need to have a relatively more proportion of time spent upon those topics which you happen to be relatively feeling weaker. But the reason is that just because you weak, okay, it doesn't mean the exam would not be posing on it. Someone else would be strong in the same subject, and this is a relative performance, so that you would be lagging behind it. So by this time you should have realized your strengths and also your weakness. So if you are really strong and confident in a certain subject like economy, just spend less time, and that particular revision on a daily basis is more than enough. Don't worry about reading some new book. But if you still feel that this is something that really bothers me, okay, do end up spending more time upon that particular subject, so it fills the gap and your confidence gets boosted.
Definitely, because It depends on the our background. Means
background
if
and simply
if it is our maths background or science background, so generally we will perform good in science and technology and logical reasoning and
logical reasoning. Yes. So people don't need some coaching classes or listen to lectures to understand a mathematical ability or numerical ability on logical reasoning. Only students, mostly from engineering background, what do they require is simply take the questions, some 10, 20 questions on a daily basis, keep practicing. You don't need to spend time simply going through some books to and make notes for analytical, logical reasoning and all these things. You only need to practice.
Yeah.
But the same student, engineering student might not be able to revise biology. So that's where you need to spend some time. Because that's what you have left in your 10th standard. So do spend more time. And many people feel that they don't feel confident in it. So then obviously to boost your confidence before you go to examination hall, do ensure that you have that particular subject revised properly. So now you have this time. So your time, I would not say simply distribute these 45 days divided by 30. So find out that subject that you really feel that's really bothering you. Do allocate more time so that your confidence gets boosted. So
is there any kind of questions can we expect the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic? Because this pandemic situation totally disturbs, freezes the total economy.
The thing is that because of this so-called corona, lot many engineers also started simply thinking of all these kind of diseases and how are the diseases spread, what are these vector-borne diseases, because now everyone goes to know what exactly is this so-called medicines and so the extensive uses of medicines and then this so-called vaccination. So obviously this particular post-pandemic, take the case when it comes to this so-called corona, there are a lot of things that has become very popular. And the lifestyle has changed. And the way of working has changed. No one ever expected that work from home would become the norm. It used to be an exception. No one ever thought it. So the change that we are expecting after this corona happens to be phenomenally high. So a lot many businesses, take the case of maybe entertainment industry, tourism industry. There's been a phenomenal downfall in simply the number of people visiting the places, the number of footfall when it comes to movie theaters. So there have been a lot of change post pandemic. So that is something whoever going to newspaper might have noticed it. And that has its repercussions. So when it comes to agriculture, everything remains the same. Here might not be, but when it comes to certain other sector, there has been a phenomenal change. So these are the things that basically when you are expected to become a civil servant, these are things people expect you to be noticing it.
As a state level officer, you know all these things.
You are expected to it. So that's the reason no one would end up simply saying, my friend, this is going to be the topic of importance and you need to focus on it. So this kind of ability, if you are able to inculcate, no matter only this examination, any examination, you will be able to figure it out what is the examiner expecting from it. That helps you to make your preparation easy.
So as this just now we discussed Telangana movement and Telangana history. Also place maybe questions may come or may not come, that's a different, depends on the paper setter, because the priority of the question paper needs and blueprint of that paper also, correct. So especially a fast look for the to score or to crack the word to crack full marks from the economy. So which areas we have to focus?
So the areas is as such.
Before going to continue this, we have a phone call. We have to respond. Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Good morning. So what is your name and what's your question expecting from our side?
Sir, my name is Radha and I'm from Hyderabad, sir. Sir, my question is, there is a topic that is mentioned in main syllabus about land reform. So can we expect any question in prelims about land reforms?
Yes, the question could be expected. Let's say, take the case in computerization of land records is the recent thing, isn't it? Dharani portal. There are issues related to Dharani portal. Some people the government is in support. Some people do criticize it, but more or less there is something called Dharani portal is in use. So the only thing is land reform simply doesn't mean the age-old reform like distribution of land from zamindars to the people. Whatever the reform the government happened to bring in with respect to land is what we call land reform. So people have a perception that abolition of intermediaries or simply regulating rents are the only land reforms. Whatever the initiative. So the recent cases of, take the case of Dharani. So why is the government has introduced Dharani? The importance of it. What kind of problem it is trying to solve, because government doesn't do just for doing something, isn't it? So if you are able to figure out the root cause and what's the solution or problem it is trying to address, that's very much required, important for you to understand this. So maybe based upon this there could always be a question.
Yes. So now we are discussing, then we have a phone
Yes.
call. So just to crack the maximum marks from the economy,
Maximum
so
of
where you
what,
are going to focus?
what are the topics to be focused
Yes,
on?
yes.
But because sir, as such, any subject has some the core areas.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to economy, the first and foremost thing, let's say if you want to know the economic well-being of a person, the first thing you would ask is income. So as such, the income, national income, or simply concept related to GDP, GNP, these are things that's very much necessary, because without simply understanding, there's no point in analyzing economy.
Yes.
That's very much necessary.
Okay.
The second most important happens to be the very common way how the government is done.
Okay.
The monetary and fiscal policies. When it comes to fiscal policy, what kind of allocations is making a budget, which sectors are being emphasized, and how is the government mobilizing money. And the recent past, if you look at the increase in GST revenues, okay, the increase in proportion of indirect tax revenue contributed.
Okay.
So the monetary policy and fiscal policy, next comment.
Okay.
So these three topics more or less deals with how government is able to mobilize more amount of money.
Okay.
But the end of the day, it comes to, it's not only about generating wealth, how the wealth is being fairly distributed.
Okay.
So there comes the topics of social developments like poverty, inequality, unemployment.
Okay.
So let the case of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. We could say poverty is the cause of inequality, inequality is the cause of unemployment, unemployment is the cause of poverty. It's not that okay, poverty happens to have a different reasons than compared to inequality. They happen to be.
Yes.
The reason why we have this prevailing poverty, inequality, and unemployment is because we don't have proper redistribution of wealth being generated.
Yeah.
The concentration of wealth among, so that's the major concern. So
Okay.
first is how to the efficiency in production of wealth generation.
Okay.
The second is distribution.
Okay.
So next comes the very common topics like inclusive growth, poverty, inequality, unemployment.
Okay.
And when it comes to the poverty levels, most of the time we know the fact that the rural India poverty is relatively high. Large proportion of people depend on agriculture. So
Okay.
that being the major reason, agriculture sector being at a distance for so many years. Obviously the topic agriculture also becomes a topic of more importance.
Okay.
So that is how, okay, people would not be asking an economy related question in information technology. Though there are a lot many people making decent amount of money, but the extent to which it could influence the common man's life on a day-to-day basis is not so high.
Yes, yes.
So you don't need to spend the same amount of time you spend upon agriculture, the same amount of time spending upon information technology
Okay.
and its impact to respective economy. So that's how you would be able to make it. So the core areas is something that you should always have to be very thorough with it. So it comes to around 7 to 8. And banking is that you don't need to really worry about all the initiatives taken by government to recover these loans and all these things. Just simply go ahead with what is banking, what are the different types of financial intermediaries. That's kind of overall information. Same is the case with stock market. The same time you spend on monetary fiscal policy is the same emphasis not required for comes to these ancillary topics.
Yeah.
So pick up these core topics that I have listed now.
Yes,
Do
yes.
focus more. And since these happens to be an ancillary part of this economy, just simply try to have overview of what exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so what's money, what's banking, how is money measured? So these are the type of things. Similarly, what are stock markets, what happens in stock market, who regulates them? Okay, so the terms related to it is more than enough.
Okay. So as a economy expert, so just when you come out from this boundary, so when you take it as the total 13 concepts has a all subject expertise, so how you are going to suggest different tips to just we have a very little span for the preparation of the examination.
Yes.
So what kind of tips or suggestions you are going to suggest to
The tips
pinpoint
are,
of all?
okay, the best thing always is that okay, though I have been telling you need to have separate time allocated, but there would be a lot many topics. Let's say take the case I already has said in one of my previous questions.
Okay.
That economic geography and economy to a large extent coincide. Let's say resources, industries,
Okay.
okay, and then agriculture. Let's say she asked a question in land reform. So land reform is a topic you find it in post-independent history. We find it in Indian economy. You find it related to agriculture. Okay, let's say green revolution or any such. They all happen to be part of. I mean, they appear in multiple because economic geography, economic coincides.
Okay.
Similarly, budget and the way budget is presented and how the parliament works, budget session, okay, polity has been. Okay, so you have overlap. Whenever the budget is being presented, we know the finance bill, appropriation bill is being presented and who submits the budget, the demand for grants, the motions like policy cut motion. So if you could try to interlink those topics.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, it's not that there is a separate boundary for economy, okay, and polity and history, they will never coincide.
Okay.
So the same thing holds good even when it comes to history or modern history. So the reason why land reforms has been introduced, more or less that helps in understanding what was the historical state, how the land has been constituted among Jamindar system, how it evolved. So when you read modern history and when you come across the Jamindar, isn't it, then you could understand how the land ownership was those days.
Okay.
And what compelled the government to go for such kind of land reforms. So if you are able to interlink,
Okay.
so it has been at the same time you are simply trying to revise and simply review some 3 to 4 subjects at the same time.
Okay.
So that kind of overall perspective is what is necessary.
Yeah.
So let's say take the case of you are doing socio-economic survey of Telangana, and you have come across a pie chart, and analyze the pie chart. Simply take it as a challenge, analyze the pie chart. That has been you are doing a data interpretation question.
Yeah.
What proportion of it is in agriculture sector? Let's say okay, rupee, you have seen rupee comes from a pie chart in budget.
Yes.
And you have seen that okay 50% happens to be corporate tax. So that does mean you are evaluating a pie chart. So that's part of data interpretation.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So you have one more call, sir. Yeah. So hello.
Hello.
Good morning, madam. Say your name and ask your question to our expert.
NMMS గురించి మాకు డీటెయిల్స్ కావాలండి, ఎప్పుడు అప్లై చేయాలి?
So if you don't mind, can you repeat the same question?
NMMS.
Yeah. Actually, this is so I will give the information, not a problem. But this is a live telecast on overall review of economy for the Group 1 services, madam. So this is it's not NMMS class. Okay, NMMS has not announced a date. So within short span, they are going to announce for the applying for NMMS. Definitely, we will inform to you, madam. Okay, thank you. So definitely we are different policies are taking now. Kalyana Lakshmi,
yes,
Asara pension, like Shadi Mubarak, whatever. Yes. Even central government policies also, correct? Yes. So and different organizations like Niti Aayog, all. So any focus on this?
The simple solution is, I would always suggest is, do list all such schemes right now being implemented.
Okay.
There might be a scheme in the good old days which was not in practice, where the name has changed. So list out all the current schemes. Okay. Segregate based upon the ministry and the objective. Let's say Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana.
Okay.
The nodal ministry responsible. What is the problem it is trying to address? The objective.
Okay.
Is there any target here?
Okay.
Similarly, okay, let's say Shadi Mubarak.
Okay.
What is the purpose? What's the objective? And who are the eligible beneficiaries?
Okay.
So take a piece of paper, list out all these schemes, and whenever you are free, just keep revising. Don't end up by hearting it. Just keep revising.
Yeah. That's
okay.
Good.
So do collect all these things, and you don't need to spend an extra effort, because the media or simply the websites do have enough information. Just download it, keep it okay, write with your own hands. Don't simply take up all the redundant information. Collect name of the scheme, nodal ministry, objective, any deadline, and beneficiaries.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. So there could be, that comes to around some 40-45. Keep revising whenever you have some time.
Okay.
Or simply segregate based upon the women and child development, segregate based upon housing and infrastructure. So that helps in simply interlinking. Yeah. And out of which, what are the state sponsored, what are the central sponsored, there in cement.
Yeah. So we have one more phone call, sir. We have to respond. So hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, madam. Say your name and ask your question to our expert.
So my name is 𝗬𝗧. I'm calling from Hyderabad.
Okay.
So my question is, in the syllabus we have point number 11, Society, Culture, Heritage, Arts and Literature of Telangana.
Okay.
So sir, in that point, do we have to study entire Telangana history, or we just have to study the society culture related to Telangana at that point of time?
Yeah. It's a, see, my friend, it's a very simple, because what does a history say about it? A history is all about expression of what a society is, it isn't it? So you don't need to by heart the political history, but exactly, I mean to say, that's the reason you might have come across histories between political and economic history and social history. So what was the society and what was the major problems we've been experienced in the past? Okay, so that's what's, in fact, that particular society or whatever has been is a clue to find out or to focus on what part of history to be emphasized.
Yeah.
So in a way, they have made it simple just to look at that particular part of history. That's it.
Okay. So anyway, you covered all the areas of the economy, sir. So as you know, most of the people, because the age limit also given for our aspirants is sufficient for that. So some of the freshers also going to write. For freshers, it's difficult for that to how to manage to write the exam, because there are 150 questions in the preliminary examination and 150 minutes. So means each question carry just 1 minute.
Less than
So even if you read the question, just for reading the question and identify the options, it takes nearly 20 to 25 seconds. Just we have 30 seconds maximum to answer it. Means half a minute. So in that, how to manage the time and how they are going to crack this examination?
See, time is always a constraint, whether it is a senior aspirant or the one who spent for so many years or the
Okay.
But the thing is that the best thing that always makes it easy and boosts confidence is simply your practice itself.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So, it is not necessary the one who studied some 10 books and never happened to put it back on a piece of paper would not be able to do it no matter how many years he spent reading it.
Okay, okay.
So, even a fresher would be able to crack it if he happen to have a proper strategy and simply revise in a proper manner and simply try to attempt some questions on a frequent basis.
Okay.
So, I do not really discourage or simply there is nothing to worry that I have started preparation only 1 year, but whereas my friend started doing this for 5 years. Okay, at the end of the day, it's all depends upon your own strategy, and someone else's strategy, someone's information or someone's knowledge might not deter you cracking the examination. Okay. So, forget about what happens to be the number of years time spent. You do have your own strategy.
Okay.
And try to ensure as much revision as possible before going to examination. Okay. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah. So,
and the one luckiest thing is that if you end up making some wild guess on those topics, if you are not aware, you still don't have a negative marking. That's always something that you would be taking as an advantage.
Okay.
So, try to attempt as many as possible.
Okay.
Yes.
So, anyway, so you give an excellent information to our aspirants. So, definitely that will help our aspirants to crack this examination with the support of our TSAT classes. Thank you from our TSAT for taking classes in TSAT and giving a overall review from TSAT. Thank you once again.
Sir. Thank you for welcoming me. Okay, and I am really happy to be part of this.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you aspirants for viewing this live telecast from TSAT on overall review of economy. So, it will help you to crack the examination. I and we hope you will get of course get into the mains examination after completion of the prelims, possibly even crack the group 1 services also. Thank you.
All the best.
All the best.